Come to that, calls for unity and national cohesion characterized Eid al-Adha celebrations as Muslims gathered for prayers across several grounds and mosques in the country. The festival, also known as the Festival of Sacrifice, coincides with the annual Hajj pilgrimage in Mecca and commemorates Prophet Ibrahim's willingness to sacrifice his son in obedience to God's command. Muslim clerics and faithful used the occasion to call for political sobriety ahead of the 2027 general elections.
At Sir Ali Muslims Club in Nairobi, hundreds of Muslims converged for special early morning prayers in commemoration of Eid al-Adha celebrations. Speaking at the event, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale called out a section of politicians for allegedly spreading hate and division among Kenyans.
And we want one nation. We want a place where Muslims, Christians, people of all tribes live together. And we don't want people who propagate tribal hatred.
This as Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has donated 700 goats to the city's Muslim community as they marked Eid al-Adha. In Mombasa City, Governor Abdul Swamad Nasir cautioned that early political campaigns characterized by inflammatory rhetoric and tribal sentiments could threaten national unity and trigger violence.
Kauli moja inaweza kuchukuliwa ni jambo dogo, lakini likiweza kuongezwa na la mwingine tunaweza kuleta taharuki katika Kenya.
While Muslim cleric in Busia decried the use of goons by politicians for political interest, warning that the trend could compromise the country's security.
Isiwe ni sababu ya kuleta malumbano baina yetu. Ile culture ambayo imetokea gunism ni jambo ambalo linasikitisha.
Elsewhere, Muslim faithful in Isiolo have castigated politicians spreading claims of rigging ahead of next year's general elections, saying action must be taken against them.
Hao ambao wameanza kueneza uchuki, hao ambao wanasema election itaibiwa, hao ambao wanaeneza siasa ya kabila, tunawalani.
In the neighboring Garissa County, religious leaders in Garissa have raised concerns over the escalating cases of insecurity in the town and its surrounding areas.
Mavijana wa hapa Garissa ambao wanafanya trafficking. Si ati ni watu wametoka mbali, ni watu wa hapa mjini Garissa. Kwa hivyo tunahimiza serikali wajitokeshe, watafute, wachukue wapata list number za hao mavijana.
In Migori County, Muslim cleric Omar Hussein Mohammed has called for an end to internal wrangles within Orange Democratic Movement Party.
Chama hii tulikuwa wakati ilianzishwa tulikuwa Kisumu 205 na kaa chama imara, wasifuruge hiyo chama.
Muslims also converged in Homa Bay and Uasin Gishu counties to mark Eid al-Adha celebrations.
Now, Muslim faithful joined together in celebrating Eid al-Adha on Wednesday, also called the Festival of Sacrifice. The event commemorates the unwavering faith and obedience of Prophet Ibrahim, who was willing to sacrifice his son in submission to God's command before God provided a ram instead. The occasion symbolizes sacrifice, compassion, mercy, and sharing with the less fortunate. Our reporter Aaron Murray joined Muslims during the celebrations and now reports.
For millions of Muslims across the world, Eid al-Adha is more than a celebration.
We are marking the 10th day of Dhul Hijjah, which we normally do by sacrificing sheep and cow and goat.
At the break of dawn, the Kiambaiko slaughterhouses in Nairobi was set for the day.
Ile kitu kama unachinja moja lazima ukumbuke jirani yako na hii maskini.
The ritual slaughter performed according to Islamic teachings, representing obedience to God and the willingness to give up what is precious for the sake of faith and compassion.
Sisi Waislamu si hatubagui mtu wala nani. Tunaangalia wala na kitu tunasaidia na mwingine hapa na pale. Sisi tunapenda imani ya kupendana kabisa.
of Islamic, we are not supposed to slaughter an healthy animal or animal with a deformity or a underage. Every animal must be from 6 months and above.
The process begins with careful selection and humane slaughter of the animals, followed by thorough inspection.
A vet doctor, who is available in this section, they normally inspect, and after inspecting, in case maybe any animal might be not as per the vet guidelines or the inspection, they normally sort it out.
After inspection, volunteers moved swiftly to package the meat before dispatching it to different communities. But beyond the sacrifice lies the spirit of sharing.
These families are spread in all over Kenya, about 39 counties or locations.
Qatar Charity was leading a large-scale meat distribution.
Qatar Charity is a governmental organization, and mostly our funds we get from Qatar national people. And like this one, for each goat is being sponsored by a family in Qatar. And they are sponsoring these goats to come to Kenya so that at least 4 families can enjoy together.
The gesture was replicated in different parts of the country as Muslims marked the festival through prayer, sacrifice, and act of kindness.
Tunasherehekea siku ya leo, siku ya kuchinja, tukiwa sote hapa kwa wakili Suleiman Kiogora ambaye ndiye aspiring MP wetu, anasimama na DCP. Tuko nyuma yake. Ni wakili wetu ambaye amekuwa akituangalia sana, especially siku ya leo kama siku ya Idi. Amekuwa akituserve, unaona nina masinia hapa. Amekuwa akitupa mlo, tunakula sote pamoja bila kuchagua wewe ni wa tabaka gani ama gani.
As Muslims in Kenya and the rest of the world are celebrating Eid al-Adha, it is a moment for prayer and thanksgiving and the symbolic slaughtering of animals in remembering Ibrahim's obedience and act of faith. Reporting from Athi River, from Machakos County, for KBC Channel 1, I'm Aaron Marie.
The Ministry of Health now says it is ready to work with international partners in strengthening health systems and health security capabilities. In a statement, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale said Kenya values its long-standing partnership with the United States and other global partners. The statement comes against the backdrop of a report by an international news outlet claiming that the Trump administration is planning to send U.S. citizens exposed to Ebola virus to Kenya for monitoring and treatment. The CS's remarks come as the World Health Organization has warned that the eastern DRC now faces a catastrophic escalation of disease and conflict.
Following a public outcry over the report by the international news outlet, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale issued a statement neither denying nor confirming the claims. In the statement, the CS noted discussions are ongoing with the U.S. government and other global partners regarding international collaboration on strengthening preparedness and response mechanisms for Ebola virus disease and other emerging health threats. According to Duale, any arrangements regarding international health cooperation will, however, be guided by Kenya's national laws, public health regulations, biosafety, biosecurity standards, and the responsibility of the government to safeguard the health and welfare of the people of Kenya. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization is expressing concern that the ongoing clashes in eastern DRC are driving mass displacement, pushing exposed contacts into overcrowded camps, and severing critical containment corridors. WHO is now calling for an immediate ceasefire to allow safe and sustained access for medical teams. The statement comes even as the Kenyan government has maintained the country is still free from the disease.
This particular virus, Ebola virus, this strain, doesn't have a vaccine. But we are doing a very serious screening of all passengers entering our country, and more so those who have either coming from Uganda or were on transit through Kinshasa.
And like when COVID was there, we could send our samples as far as South Africa, but today we can test here in our country. So we have strengthened the laboratory preparedness and diagnostic readiness.
According to the latest report by the World Health Organization, laboratory confirmed cases in the Democratic Republic of Congo stand at 105, with 10 confirmed deaths. In Uganda, the WHO has confirmed 7 cases and 1 death. However, suspected Ebola cases in both countries stand at 906, with suspected deaths standing at 223.
Matters politics now. A section of central Kenya lawmakers from the ruling UDA party has distanced themselves from the party's Secretary General Hassan Omar's alleged ethnic profiling remarks and demanded his immediate resignation. The lawmakers, including Nyandarua woman Representative Faith Gitau and her Laikipia counterpart Jean Kagiri, have threatened to petition the president if Omar fails to vacate office within 48 hours. Now, however, in his defense, held Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale says Omar has already apologized for the remarks. Secretary General Hassan Omar is now a man under siege following his alleged tribal hate remarks that have sparked a storm even within the ruling party. Speaking in Kiambu, UDA legislators, including Kiamba MP John Kawanjiko, Alice Ng'ang'a of Thika Town, Jane Kagiri of Laikipia County, and Faith Gitau of Nyandarua, among others, have issued a 48-hour ultimatum for him to vacate office.
Should Hassan Omar fail to tender his resignation voluntarily within the next 48 hours, we will formally present a joint petition to our party leader, His Excellency President William Ruto, to invoke the party organs and officially dismiss him from the position.
They rejected his apology, telling him to follow in the steps of Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga, who also resigned from the Council of Governors after uttering ethnic remarks.
We are going also to petition, if he doesn't resign, we are going to petition our president, who is the party leader.
And we also want to caution all the leaders and the members of parliament and all the politicians that we must be very sensitive of where we want to take this country in the next 1 year as far as the general election is concerned. We don't want to see a repeat of 2007.
However, in a separate occasion, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale came to Omar's defense, saying he had already tendered an apology.
Hassan Omar kidogo akateleza. Na kuteleza si kuanguka, akateleza. Dunia mzima inasema Hassan Omar. Na tena akaomba radhi.
Duale further took a swipe at the retired President Uhuru Kenyatta for his alleged attack on the government over failing to contain fuel prices and the cost of living.
Ulimtesa William Ruto akiwa makamu wako. Mungu akamjalia akapata kiti. Sasa wewe bado unataka kumtesa.
His sentiments were shared by a group of women drawn from the North Rift region, dubbed UDA Women Brigade.
And today women will stand in support of President because of his work. He has done a lot of things. Someone has talked about the dollar. Initially the dollar was around.
Tulikushikilia first term, tukakushikilia second term. Hata mimi mwenyewe si ukunywa maji yako. Na wewe saa hizi unakuja kuambia His Excellency the President ya kwamba umtambui kazi yenye amefanya.
Juzi tuliona kiatu ikitembea huko Kisii. Mara chupa ya maji. Jana kijana anaenda kumrukia. Na tuko na maaskari wamejaa kwa kiwanja. Please security.
Now, broadcasters across Africa are being forced to rethink how content is created, distributed and monetized as artificial intelligence, satellite technology and digital creators rapidly transform the media landscape. The East African Broadcasters Convention in Nairobi, media executives, regulators and even content creators warned that traditional broadcasting models are struggling to keep pace with changing audience habits, especially among young people who are increasingly consuming short-form and mobile content. The discussions also highlighted growing calls for Africa to take control of its own stories through local content production.
The broadcast industry is undergoing a rapid transformation driven by artificial intelligence, cloud production and satellite distribution. At the 5th East African Broadcasters Convention Industry players said the future of television will depend on how media houses balance new technology, accessibility, and strong local storytelling.
Africa is telling its own story by itself. Africa is no longer waiting for others to tell its own story. So the challenge of Africa is not only creating content, it's about making sure that that content reach home, that content reach everywhere.
A key focus of the discussions was the survival of traditional TV in Africa. While streaming and mobile platforms continue to expand, broadcasters noted that millions of households still rely on free-to-air television due to limited internet access, electricity gaps, and infrastructure challenges.
For viewers, they are expected to have a set-top box and a receiving antenna so that they can enjoy a bouquet of channels. And also it gives the broadcaster the benefit of scale, more channels, better quality, and also the advertisers, they can benefit from buying reach and attention. So DTH is one of the most practical ways to deliver free, high-quality TV to millions of homes.
Attention also turned to shifting audience habits, especially among young people who are increasingly consuming short-form and creator-led content. Panelists warned that broadcasters risk losing younger audiences unless they rethink how content is produced and involve them more directly.
There is the worry about who controls the African narrative. New players are coming in, not necessarily to bring value to Africa, but to exploit Africa, culturally, minerals, and all the other. Who is shaping the African narrative to respond to the needs of Africa in the centuries to come?
The convention also called for stronger collaboration among African broadcasters, with industry leaders urging a shift towards more intra-African productions rather than heavy reliance on foreign partnerships.
We must create an infrastructure for intra-African trade. We must think Pan-African, not think Anglophone, and we must build societies where we feed ideas to each other in order to raise funds collectively.
Discussions highlighted both the opportunities and risks of digital platforms for women creators. While online spaces are enabling women to create and monetize content, concerns were raised over rising online abuse and technology-facilitated gender violence that continues to silence many.
How do we equip the women who are excelling on the digital platforms with digital skills that can safeguard them as they navigate the online platforms?
And our First Lady, Rachel Ruto, or rather the First Lady, or rather let's go into, still remaining on that story. First Lady Rachel Ruto has asked Kenyans to pray for the country's political leadership and have faith the nation will emerge peaceful and stable even after next year's general elections. The First Lady spoke when she joined women leaders at a prayer breakfast meeting organized by women parliamentarians. The prayer meeting comes just a day before the annual national prayer breakfast slated for today.
The third Women Prayers Convocation under the theme Forgiveness and Reconciliation was a moment for women leaders to step away from their various leadership roles and responsibilities and seek divine intervention for the country at a time when Kenyans continue to experience heightened political activity ahead of the 2027 general election.
But Lord, you continue walking with us, you continue blessing us, and Lord, forever and ever, we shall glorify your name.
Lord, bring healings where there is darkness, peace where there is confusion, and hope where there is despair.
The things of God are not stoppable. When God chooses to bless a nation, he will bless a nation.
Led by First Lady Rachel Ruto, the women leaders interceded for the children, for families, and for the national and county governments.
Dear God, you know and you have written each and every one of our youth's names in your hands, Jehovah Lord. And we ask that you may see us through, dear Lord.
Kwa watoto wetu, atawale tu, mwachie Yesu, atawale.
The First Lady called on Kenyans to pray for the country.
People of God, women of God, let's believe God today. Let's believe God. I know we have believed, but today our faith has been raised. Yes. Anything that you are trusting God for, I want you to know that God is gonna do it for you.
Keynote speaker, Uganda's High Commissioner to India, Professor Joyce Kakuramatsi, encouraging the women with her story of triumph over adversity, narrating how she first got her child at the age of 60 years.
God is faithful and He's good all the time. If you put your trust in Him, you just need to be patient. Patience is having your first child at 60. You people, I almost died, by the way. I almost died. I said, who cares?
Notably absent from the congregation were women MPs allied to the United Opposition.
Now, Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro has called on the government to cut some of its expenditures, especially on areas that will not affect service delivery to Kenyans, to cushion Kenyans against the high cost of fuel. Now, the MP who appeared before the Budget and Appropriations Committee proposed that the government should remove foreign travel, avoid budget increments within one financial year, and also reduce increments of up to 25% in some sectors proposed in the next budget.
While appearing before the Sam Atandi-led Budget and Appropriations Committee, Kiharu Member of Parliament defended his proposals, including a 7 shillings reduction on the Road Maintenance Levy Fund and a reduction of VAT from 8% to 0%, saying the government has the capacity to further cushion Kenyans against the high cost of fuel.
The amount of money, because I've calculated, that will be required in terms of injections, either through subsidies or through the forfeiture of revenue, I thought it is a fair price to pay, other than the humongous price the economy may pay in the future. Because the parameters don't increase at the same margin that fuel increases. They increase by multiples. So we'll end up, therefore, mopping up a lot of disposable income from the people, other than just safeguarding them through that expenditure.
We have cut our development allocation by about 100 billion. So from where you sit as a former chairman of budget, where would you propose that we cut? Because if we are to do this, if we are to engage in this process, we are to implement your proposal, these losses, we'll have to get them from somewhere. The other alternative we have is to affect our fiscal deficit, which, as you know, also is quite steep.
You know areas in the budget that has gotten increment of over 25% this financial year alone. And because I don't want to sensationalize, I'll hand over to you specifics. I have actually tabulated over 100 billion Kenya shillings we can save out of the expenditure side. And you know what I'm saying.
However, the committee put Ndindi on the spot, saying the VAT was high during his time as budget chairperson.
When you were the chairman here, we had an issue of stalled roads that we could not be able to get funding for. Out of wisdom from other sources or other people, we were able to securitize that money and were able to pay pending bills, and the roads that had stalled were able to be done.
You understand that we have 7 shillings for the securitization on the infrastructure fund. Could you be having other motives that you are targeting that infrastructure fund?
There is still 18 shillings remaining in the RMLF. So that's one arena. The other arena, which I have actually done so by writing to the clerk, is that we can also explore excise duty.
The committee noted it will retreat to consider the proposals before making the final decision.
And now let's get sporty. Newly crowned Football Kenya Federation Premier League champions Gor Mahia were held to a nil draw by Mara Sugar during their FKF Premier League match played Wednesday at Raila Odinga Stadium in Homa Bay. Now, the fixture was postponed on Sunday after Mara Sugar, the home team, disputed the decision by FKF to move the match from Awendo Green Stadium to Homa Bay, with Gor Mahia's closest title challengers AFC Leopards losing 2-1 2-1 to APS Bomet. Kogalo were declared the league champions for the 22nd time with 2 matches to spare. Following the draw, Gor Mahia consolidates the leadership with 69 points, while Mara Sugar is 8th on 44 points. In other league results, KCB defeated already relegated Sofapaka 2-1, whilst Tusker 2-0 Ulinzi, and Police drew 1-1 with Kariobangi Sharks.
It's a good, during our first leg, we had some inferiority complex catching up. But today I've seen the boys have come up and confidently they have played well and missed some chances, which maybe they would have converted. But all the same, it's good to get that 1 point from the champions.
We needed to do more than we did. I wasn't too happy with how we played in the second and the chances that we created, and how we also allowed at the back. We gave a lot of chances. We were not properly organized. But in all fairness, it's okay. We're going back, and we want to finish very well in our next match.
And that's where we end our news coverage for now. My name is Givas Maina. But of course, the show continues. But before that, let's take a very short commercial break.
This is the story of how a group of square dancing aunties gave me the courage to be with the woman of my dreams.
You young people live in such a big world. Go explore.
Have you done any dancing?
I've done more than just dance. I'm doing great here. There's no one like Liu to cause trouble.
Mr. Young.
That sister of yours is great. I'm going after her.
Kwa nini wanatuma kunisi? Watrack hiyo kari.
Ati anatuma nini?
Kunusi.
Hizo ni nini?
Makunisi hiyo yali mheshimiwa.
Guns.
Ndio hiyo mheshimiwa.
Kunisi.
Sio naitwangu makunisi mheshimiwa.
Guns.
Can we call this English please?
No problem.
What about if we put like this? You put my phone tracker so that you can track me because you love me because I'm a baby face.
Oh,
what about that one?
What is he talking about?
Kwani gari ni wale tatu atasahau hapa aende. Gari kubwa na mna hiyo wewe atasahau aje.
Mama, unajua mapenzi ni nini wewe?
Wanadanganya.
Chunga hii kesi inaweza kukufunga.
Lights on, volume up. This is where stories come alive. From local drama that hits close to home.
Huyu ni nani? Alinivamia akiwa na vijana wengine wawili. Toka nje.
Hii nyumba yako. Yote ni porojo.
To international series everyone's talking about. Stories that pull you in. Characters you won't forget.
Stop complaining and just get out of here. Go now, go.
We turn up the volume with music that moves, showcases rising stars, and bring the beat straight to your living room. And when it's time to talk, we don't hold back.
How is everything going?
Real conversations, big personalities, the issues, the loves, the moment everyone's debating the next day. Every show, every night, different voices, one destination. This is television that feels alive, unpredictable, and missable.
We've got so much fun waiting for you today.
Hi guys, my name is Tamara Merino Angoi. I'm a model and I'm 10 years old. I started modeling when I was around 5 years old. It was hard at first, but I still managed until this day.
Well, in today's book,
we explore different careers and find out what do these people do. And who knows, maybe it will give you some ideas of careers that you can take. Our book is What Do You Want to Be?
Big blue balloons bob by the big bridge. The big balloons bob by the big bridge.
And today I'm going to show you how to make chicken noodle soup.
I have no more tears to shed. I want to be in charge of my life because I'm a boy child and I'm not taking the back seat anymore, not unless it is in a limo or a Mercedes Benz.
In a world where news is ever changing, staying informed is more important than ever.
Join us every week on News Check, your go-to show for the latest in current affairs, breaking news and in-depth analysis.
A warm welcome to KBC News Check.
From politics to global events, we bring you content that matter to you.
We're not just speaking about the governance and how we want to see it, but want to actually participate.
Get your facts, hear from the experts, and really understand what is happening around you.
We need to change our system first.
You have to do the impossible
Yes.
to make sure the message is home.
Stay ahead, stay informed, stay engaged.
Will these people, everybody agree?
Just listen to me.
Let's give him a chance to clear the air.
Catch News Check every Tuesday and Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Only on KBC Channel 1.
And welcome back. This is Good Morning Kenya, and my name is Giverson Minor. And let's show you our special feature on hidden treasures. And this time we focus on the very famous Kenyan National Archives in Nairobi. Take a look.
The Kenya National Archives and Documentation Services, or the National Archives as it is well known, is first and foremost the national repository facility with over 40,000 volumes of files archived within its facility. This is Hidden Treasures, the Kenya National Archives. In this episode, we step in further into the vast gallery that spreads throughout the belly of this monumental structure at the heart of our capital, Nairobi.
The Murumbi Art Gallery has been there, has been existing since the year in 2006. Yeah, to date. So the definition first of the archive, the word archives, is keeping, preserving. In our case, the Kenya National Archives, which now the archives behind now the country's the own ownership. So we archive records. All the Kenya National Archives archives or preserves all the government records. Yeah. Traced in back years to date. So we archive the Kenyan history, the records which explain more about the documents, which is in the concern of the Kenyan government. Yeah. So apart from having the gallery, we have other departments like microfilming, repository, research room, the public library, and others.
Festus Mutinda has been working as a guide at the Murumbi Art Gallery at the Kenya National Archives for more than a year. He narrates in detail the origins of these artifacts and how most of them have been acquired.
Talking of the artifacts, the gallery itself, it is Intercontinental Art Gallery. Talking of this, I mean, we have artifacts from different parts of this continent we call Africa, the Black Continent. So all what we have here was collected by the second Vice President of Kenya, Joseph Murumbi, and he did this from different countries in Africa. So they are not only Kenyan artifacts, but African artifacts in general.
Most of the artworks on display here today are credited to Kenya's second Vice President, Joseph Murumbi, who managed to collect more than 50,000 artifacts, though some were lost.
Basically, Joseph Murumbi collected more than 50,000 artifacts. Yeah, which of them, in the process of storing them, some were stolen, others just get lost. But the total number of the artifacts he collected were traced over 50,000 of them. All of them were brought as a collection because I give you a bit of the history about the things. Kenya National Archives started in the year 1965. But for the gallery, I said earlier, it started in the year 2006. So when these things were brought here, following the concern of the Murumbi's wife, who is Sheila, who died in the year 2000. So we had there was the plan of getting these things here from Muthaiga, where they were preserved by Murumbi. So they came here as the whole collection from Muthaiga. All the artifacts were brought here. So we don't have just the exact artifact which was first brought here. So they just came, all of them, as a collection.
The artifacts showcased at the Kenya National Archives today is a mix that blends weaponry, musical instruments, and a portrayal of the African cultures. The musical artifacts are mostly Kenyan, while the weaponry is a collection from DRC Congo, Mali, and Nigeria, where Joseph Murumbi was a regular, often visiting West African countries.
The artifacts which talk more of the African culture. So we have the African weaponry, or the weapons which were used traditionally by different African communities. We have the musical instruments, or the musical, the artifacts, talking of the music instruments which were used in those eras for entertainment and for other cultural purposes. We also have artifacts which just portray African culture in general. For the music instruments, we have here just Kenyan. But talking of the weaponry, we have weapons from other parts of Africa, likes of Democratic Republic of Congo, talking of likes of Guinea, Mali, and other African countries. And most of the West Africa is most of our concern, because Joseph Murumbi visited the West Africa more than other parts of Africa.
According to Joseph Mutinda, there is a due process for the acquisition of these artifacts. They just don't go around collecting any pieces. These factors include the intrinsic value of the artifact, its uniqueness, originality, and also its historical background.
So far, we don't collect the artifacts, but for any artifact to be here, we consider three main things: the intrinsic value of the artifact, the uniqueness, and also the originality, and it must have a historical background.
The Kenya National Archives is under the Ministry of Gender, Culture, Arts and Heritage, specifically the State Department for Culture, Arts and Heritage. Aside from Nairobi, the Kenya National Archives has branches across the country that include Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Kakamega, and Nyeri.
Because our work is to archive, and we archive the historical documents, or we archive more of the past. I'm very sure we are going also to, we are working on keeping on collecting more, because as we move, all the yesterdays are past. So we are going to continue with the work of collection, and that will help us keep the records, the future records, which will be of past to the coming generations. So we have the plan of continuing to collect the artifacts, the records, because that is our work.
The Kenya National Archives is open 7 days a week and is accessible to both Kenyans and foreign nationals for as little as 50 Kenyan shillings.
Apart from taking the Kenya National Archives as a landmark, of which many Kenyans do, because it has been a meeting point for many Kenyans. It is of great importance, again, for them to understand that we have a lot in this building, more of the African heritage, more of African culture, So I will encourage the Kenyans to embrace more of culture, and this is the best place to learn. So instead of wasting a lot of time outside there, you just come in, you just pay a little amount of money. Yeah, that is 50 shillings to get inside here, and you are going to learn more of your culture. Someone said you have to understand your past before you plan of your future. So it is of great importance you come here and you see what we have around.
In conclusion, the Kenya National Archives is not only the preserver of Kenyan culture, but a continental symbol of African heritage. A heritage that not only displays our diversity, but also opens our eyes to an opportunity for us to learn our origins, our way of life, our traditions, and religious beliefs.
The gallery is open to the public. I mean to everyone, every Kenyan, or even the non-citizens, because it's a public gallery. So for the case of people with disability, for now we don't have a special plan, the special program for them, but we usually have a guided tour. For the blinded people, they can be guided softly, and they can get awareness of what we have here. Again, for the people with disability, maybe like the physically disabled, again, yeah, they can get assistance immediately they get in the gallery. Everyone is accommodated, so we accommodate everyone. It is so fortunate that we are here for 7 days of the week. So we open from Monday to Sunday, yeah, from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Yeah, and the main reason, many of you might ask, we operate under the government building. Why are we here on weekends? So it was good for us when we decided that, because many claim that they don't get time on weekdays because they have their work schedules. We got them. We opened the gallery on weekends. So we used to operate for 5 days of the week, but to accommodate everyone, we had to extend the program to weekdays, to weekends, sorry. So you can visit us on Saturday or on Sunday with your family, or maybe walk in by yourself, and you are going to get more from us. We are here even the national holidays, talking of Mashujaa Day, even Jamhuri Days, which is on the way, and other public ceremonies or the public holidays. We are here, we are open all through.
And welcome back. Good morning. Kenya show continues here on KBC Channel 1, coming to live from the broadcasting house in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. And of course, we are following various of items, or rather news developing and happening across the country. And of course, we are about to bring you the live coverage of the National Prayer Breakfast that is will be rather starting at Safari Park Hotel here in Nairobi. And of course, we have various reporters there, including Ben Chumba, will be bringing you to speed when that particular event continues. And of course, we're also following closely on the incident, the fire incident in Gilgil, and that is Utumishi Girls High School. And we're told, or rather, there's reports showing that there was a fire. Fire broke out early morning today. And of course, we are waiting for that particular update, and we'll be bringing you to speed. We also understand the National Police Service is right there trying to do a number of things, including rescue mission, and to ascertain what might have happened, and to bring maybe, of course, tell us the figures, whether the girls are safe. And of course, we are also following on the matters Ebola and the US plan to have a quarantine center in the East Africa, and specifically here in Nairobi. And now, what we have in our dailies today, let's start with the standard. The standard right here, the highlight is Ebola unit uproar. And if my camera person, if you can see here, this is what the standard have splashed on their front page. So they're focusing on Ebola unit uproar, and they said US-Kenya deal. Fear, anger, and shock greeted the news that the US plans to send Ebola-exposed Americans to a quarantine and treatment facility on Kenyan soil in what seems like the government's willingness to turn the country into an offshore Ebola quarantine station. The controversial plan has ignited a public outrage, with medics warning that the country risk importing one of the world's deadliest viruses into a fragile health system already struggling with basic care. Well, the government insists the arrangement is lawful and necessary for global health security. It is a dangerous geopolitical experiment, turning Kenyans into guinea pigs. That is what the standard has highlighted. Of course, they continue to highlight that even on page 2. And even page 3. What is there in the Daily Nation? Still matters Ebola. And they say Trump a secret Ebola deal with Kenya. Right there, the splash on the Daily Nation. And they say queries raised by Kenya would accept Ebola patients that the US won't take in. And they continue to say Kenya has struck a deal with the United States to host a quarantine facility for Americans at risk of or infected with the deadly Ebola virus following an outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and even Uganda. The government was not forthcoming with the details on the agreement and responded to the nation's specific questions with a vague statement. And of course, they continue to highlight that story in the continuous page of the dailies. And let's see what the Star has on their splash. They chose another headline. Their Oburu plots reunion with Sifuna drops Linda faction. That is the splash on the Star there, right there. And say Oburu's opted to rally members under one ODM banner. And of course, they also highlight the panic as US plans to hold Ebola victims in Nairobi. This is one of the developing news in Kenya. They continue to say fury over plans to dump Ebola patients in Kenya. A media report published in the New York Times says US is planning to send its citizens exposed to the disease for monitoring treatment. Of course, that is one of the stories that we continue to bring you to speed. It's developing as the day continues. They say reports in the section of the US media that the country is planning to send its citizens exposed to the Ebola virus to Kenya for monitoring and treatment have triggered outrage. The report in the New York Times says that a few dozen public health service officers are now being trained to deploy to Kenya to provide medical care to Americans who are deemed to have high risk of developing Ebola. And these are the US citizens or Americans who might be exposed to the deadly virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Uganda. And I'm told by my director, Okinye, there that we need to take you to Safari Park, a hotel where the National Prayer Breakfast is currently underway. And of course, we are continuing as they get ready. We bring you to speed on that matters. But also, an incoming news is that the U.S. State Secretary, that is Marco Rubio, has, of course, while addressing the press, appeared to say that the United States will not allow any person, including their own Americans, into the U.S. soil who might have been exposed to the deadly Ebola virus. And those Americans could be in Uganda currently, or they're in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And so their plan is to have a quarantine facility in the East African country, and particularly in Kenya. And of course, there are reports that the U.S. also earlier had, of course, contacted Uganda to have that facility in Uganda. But it looks like they have a deal with Kenya to have that particular facility right here. But there are no very clear reports whether that, of course, those talks are ongoing, but there's no reports indicating whether that facility would be in Nairobi or at the border with Uganda. We have no those reports, but it's a matter that is quite still developing. And to matters Ebola, this is what the Standard, of course, continue to say, that the government and some health experts have defended the plan as safe under strict protocols, but critics warn it could expose Kenya to unnecessary risk despite no recorded case yet. And of course, they say a shock and uproar have greeted reports that the United States are planning to send to Kenya its citizens infected with the deadly Ebola virus, even as the government says it welcomes the move. I'm told we're ready to bring you the live coverage of the National Prayer Breakfast underway at Safari Park Hotel here in Nairobi. Let's take you there.
Asante sana mwenzangu Giverson Maina ukiwa upande wa mwanzo wa studio. Mtazamaji, ndo hiyo sasa tarehe 28 mwezi Mei mwaka 2026. Popote ulipo, hujambo na karibu kwa matangazo haya ya moja kwa moja kutoka mkahawa wa Safari Park. Mtazamaji, unapoona nyuma yangu wageni wanazidi kuwasili hapa moja baada ya mwingine ili kuweza kuhudhuria hafla ya kitaifa ya maombi. Ni hafla ambayo wakati wowote kutoka sasa itaanza, kwa sababu viongozi mbalimbali wakiongozwa na Rais William Ruto, naibu wake pia wanatarajiwa kuhudhuria hafla hii ya kitaifa ambayo inawaleta pamoja viongozi mbalimbali. Napozungumzia viongozi, ni viongozi wa kisiasa, viongozi wa kidini, maafisa wakuu wa serikali kutoka kaunti, mawaziri, viongozi wote wanawasili hapa ili kuweza kushiriki katika hafla hii ya maombi. Ni hafla ambayo inaleta pamoja dini mbalimbali hapa nchini na kuweza kuwasilisha hoja mbalimbali mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Utakumbuka kwamba taifa hili kila mwaka inaandaa hafla hii ili kuweza kuwaleta pamoja watu mbalimbali, viongozi mbalimbali, na kuweza kuketi pamoja kwa maombi na kuweza kuwasiliana na kuweza kujaribu kutafuta suluhu katika matatizo ambayo taifa la Kenya linakabiliana nalo. Kumbuka hii linajiri tu saa chache ama siku chache baada ya agizo la mahakama, kwa sababu hapo awali tulishuhudia wakili moja akiwa mahakamani akijaribu kusimamisha ama kuweza kufanya shughuli hii isifanyike kwa madai kwamba haikuzingatia katiba na kukuwa na uwazi. Kwa hivyo alikuwa anataka mahakama iweze kusitisha shughuli hii ama hafla hii ya kitaifa maombi, lakini jaji alipotoa uamuzi wake alisema kidogo yeye hakuweza kutoa